episode 19 of the SysEx Dumpster Podcast.
Ba-da-da.
Today, we got special guest Joe Rogan.
Ugh. Yeah, we just kick him out now.
The thing about being an alpha male is you gotta eat so much meat that you fucking fight people. Jesus Christ.
You want your hands to be the consistency of a pork chop.
Plus, aren't those episodes like 2 and 3 hours long?
They're like longer than that, dude.
Oh, really?
They're really long. Yeah. I'll catch the highlights when it's like a guest that I give a fuck about.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm just like, there's no way I want to listen to this guy babble for 4 hours.
The only one I liked was the Paul Stamets one, the mushroom guy, like mycologist.
Mm.
I know that was super interesting because of his content. But every other one, I've been like,
Yeah.
I
can't pay attention.
there was what the hell? I can't. Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like that
yeah.
one. And I like the one with the most recent one with Maynard from Tool.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And he was just talking about like disconnecting from fucking society and living in the desert in Arizona and growing wine. And that's the only thing that keeps him sane. It was it was interesting. I liked it. You know what I mean?
I might check that out. Sure, they talked about jiu-jitsu a lot.
They did.
Yeah.
Talked about fighting. I didn't know that he was he trains in that stuff. Apparently
Yeah.
he has for like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's like and at some point he had a replaced hip. So now he has to be like extra careful when he does it, but like he has a fucking bionic hip.
Damn.
Yeah. So I said, it sounds painful.
Because there are videos of him taking down like fans on stage
Yeah.
and try to get up. And
Yeah.
just, like, boop, expertly gets rid of them.
Just puts them on their face.
So,
Greg has a list.
It's not really a list, just a few points of shit that I
There's a
didn't wanna
lot of
forget.
words on that screen.
I tend to babble to myself a lot. Most of this is off-topic shit. But if you'll allow me,
By all means.
I can venture off topic for a moment.
Yes.
I wanted to bring up the Chernobyl soundtrack,
Oh, yes.
which was an amazing series. Did both of you watch it yet?
I've not seen it.
Okay, I don't want to spoil anything.
Full recommend, though?
2 thumbs up.
Okay.
I loved it from start to finish. It's hard to say that like you love something like that when it's so fucking dreary and based off of reality, but it was incredibly well done from every point. You know what I mean? And the reason why I was going to bring it up here was the sound.
Yeah, because I didn't watch it, but you explained the soundtrack and how it was made. So I went and looked that up just on its own. And it's incredible.
Yeah. It's by a woman named, I'm probably going to say this wrong, of course, but Hildur Gudnadottir. Apparently she used to collaborate with Johann Johansson a lot. Like they worked on the same scores together. She was basically his celloist. And she's also done stuff with Throbbing Gristle, Moom. Like her resume was impressive. Considering I've never heard of her up until this show, and it made me want to like look into her. And then like I'm going through like her Wikipedia page and all this. I'm like, holy shit! Like all the scores that were like my favorite by Johann, she had a hand in. Like Sicario.
Mm-hmm.
She rolled with the sequel on her own, and a few other stuff. She's going to be doing the new Joker movie. With
Joaquin Phoenix.
yeah, thank you. So interesting resume of like dreary stuff, and she was talking about how for this show she wanted to go to a power plant. So she actually got permission to go to the location where they were going to film, which was an abandoned nuclear plant, ahead of time, and just get into the vibe of it. And she said she was trying to locate the character of this plant. And so she was doing like field recordings and like recording acoustics, like she'd play cello there and record that, or she'd do field recordings of the sound of like, one thing she described was a door. They just recorded this door for hours, and like going through the recordings, like every once in a while she'd hear like a melody come out of it. It would just be like from the stuff like through the other side and things like that, just like resonating through the door. And that was one of the things that she used to drive like a lot of the songs in the soundtrack, was like the snippets that she pulled from this door.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was just like industrial mentality, you know what I mean? Like I was like, I like that a lot. and she's just like seems super animated and excited to talk about sound. You know, like the score was just super. I don't want to say melodic or even just atmospheric, but just like it was like a cloud of doom that like never went away from throughout the entire series. You know what I mean?
So in your research, did you find out, was this like a heavily processed recording of her playing cello, or was that mostly natural?
I think a lot of it is processed, like because she was talking about her associate, I guess, who does a lot of the recording and processing for her. I guess it was like heavily processed, and so were the field recordings. You know what I mean? To the point where a lot of it you can't even tell if it's a cello or a sound of a goddamn pump room door. You know what I mean? It's just like these strange industrial, abstract sounds, and just it really helped convey the like dread.
Yeah.
You know, throughout the entire series.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that, but I've been kind of on the fence. But I love like the topic of radiation and radioactivity and of accidents like that is something I really dig. So it's on the playlist for sure.
Like I've seen every documentary that I could find on Chernobyl after Fukushima hit, because it like really piqued my interest in this shit, and especially after I learned that Fukushima was essentially the same type of situation. It was really bizarre because I noticed after watching and even reading things that there was a lot of inconsistencies, and not a single documentary all had like the same information. It was like a piece here, a piece there, and you kind of had to like put it all together. And then like this series though did a great job of like collecting all of that and making like one cohesive thing. So I was kind of impressed by that, but I liked it.
Nice.
Great sound.
What else on your list there, Greg?
My list?
You don't like your list?
I don't.
What don't you like about it? It's your list. You could have changed it.
Yeah.
Bad list.
It's just been a shit summer so far. I haven't had a chance to really dive into a lot of the stuff that I've gotten recently.
I've been digging the new BugBrand DRM2, which I picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, BugBrand DRM2. I've been trying to get one of those since they came out like last summer or like late fall. You know, with BugBrand, he kind of does them one-off, and he won't announce or generally email people, and he'll just like put it in the store just to be fair to everybody. So you got to kind of like check it or write a script to check the site, do something like that, which I didn't do. I just checked it one day and saw one was up there. I was like, holy shit, one's up there. I saw it's like pretty damn pricey. I couldn't just buy it outright, really. So took my DRM1X, like flipped it on muffs in like 20 minutes to the guy who puts on Movement, the Paxahau guy. Like he's the guy who bought it of all people.
Cool.
Just thought that was interesting. But managed to make the purchase, and then next week had the DRM2. Main difference with the DRM2 between the DRM1
Wait.
is that
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt on behalf of the listeners.
Yeah.
Can you explain both of those?
That's a good thing. So the BugBrand DRM stands for drum synth, basically. So its intention is to be an analog drum synth, and he claims it's one of the most full-featured analog drum synths ever. And I would kind of agree with that to an extent. It's got a lot of CV/IO. It's got some onboard modules called like a bend envelope, kind of like imagine a 909 style. Turn the pitch up, and it gets a little thwackier, kind of like exponential curve you can add to things. But it's got all banana jack patch points on it too. So it's like a desktop module like BugBrand makes. He makes modules, but also like these desktop things that are still basically a module. The main difference is that this one is truly subtractive. So the DRM1 I originally had with an expander, it was actually a drum synth plus a filter that was also self-oscillating that would make like noise sounds and shit like that. And this one is different. It's actually oscillator into the filter. So it's more of a true synthesizer with only decay envelopes though. So it's kind of limiting in that you don't get attack, and it's really like snappy, like really great
It
drum
has to be
sounds.
snappy.
Yeah. But the cool thing is you could override all that amplifier and filter with external envelopes. So I've been running 2 Zadar envelopes into it, and it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
I've been down the rabbit hole. Like I set up this, I kind of sold a bunch of Euro stuff and set up a really small lunchbox with just modulators all going into the DRM and all taking MIDI from my MIDI box sequencer. And it's been like, holy shit, man. I don't know. That guy is like Tom Bugs, magic filter creator. It's the coolest filter I've ever heard. It sounds like true electricity, kind of very different than what I'm used to hearing from my Euro system. So I don't know. I've been digging it. I've been using it more as like a bass and lead synth than drums even. I made a whole rack of samples from it that I've been using, but man, I'm super satisfied with that. I like the sound a lot more than the original one. It was funny because I think he almost got upset at me for selling the original one. He's like, but that's so rare. They're so hard to get.
I work so hard.
Yeah, I don't really care, dude. I sold it for pretty much what I paid for it, actually. And that's why it went so quickly. But
People had similar words whenever I sold the Weevil,
yeah.
Including him. Yeah, he was kind of like, eh. I was just like, it's not that I don't like it, but it's like I'm expanding my modular. I don't know. I don't really need the Weevil one.
Also, the DRM2 was like $820 all said and done, from like the pound to dollar conversion, and the shipping, which is like $60 from the UK generally. So it's like I can't just like, something's got to give here. So luckily flipped that, and it was only like an extra $100 on top, and it's super happy with it. It's been a very inspiring instrument. I'm digging it, especially with some external envelopes, and I love that he added that. So it's like a full synth. Like the only thing that's missing is like pulse width and like a sine wave. It's like sawtooth to square, and you can kind of change. There's a knob to kind of change through that shape, whereas the other one had just like square out, saw out, whatever that you could patch. So there are less patch points in some sense, but more flexibility. But the CV over the filter is just like, it's one of those things where I sit there and like kind of scream when I use it, where it's like, fuck, like, you know, I haven't like had that in a minute. So
how do you get the CV in there? Because it's like all banana, right?
It's all banana. So I got this little converter box, which is 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch to banana jacks that I got from like Perfect Circuit or something years ago. So there's a ground jack in the back that's banana that you connect to the ground on the converter box, and then it's just perfect. It works great. So I've got this little station where it's those modulators, the BugBrand, and then the Minilog XD is above it, and the 2 CV outs are going in there. So it's like this little kind of small matrix of CV going across these 3 instruments basically, and it's like, it's kicking ass right now.
I was going to ask, is that a candidate for a live setup?
Good question. I don't know. It could be, because it's so simple, and it's one of those things where you can be like, all right, yeah, I know what I'm going to get from this. It's not very confusing or deep. So it could be for sure. And it's actually super tempting, and I'm not going to do it. But there's the modular BugBrand modular single frame is up there right now, and those are equally rare as the DRM, and like, but it's like $1,600.
Oh,
but it's a full featured dual of everything in 3 oscillator system. It's actually pretty good for $1,600 in the sound quality, but I think the DRM2 is kind of enough for my purposes, and I'm super glad I took the leap, because that day I was like, oh, you're just being ridiculous. But especially over like TR8S, which I think I might flip that again, and like shit that's kind of boring, you can spice it up with the EQ pretty well.
I was actually thinking about rebuying it again.
You know what's going for a high price right now? So I was like having a moment, and I was like, I want the little baby 909, the TR09. Those are like $700 new now, because they're discontinued, and even the used ones are
How are they
$100.
discontinued already? Like they just came out.
The 808's not, but the 909 one is.
Why?
I don't know.
The fuck?
But it's like driving the price up like fucking mad.
I remember that being unveiled at Knobcon.
Yeah.
Just like what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Maybe 3.
How the fuck do you discontinue something that was obviously widely successful?
They did that with all the first boutique shit too.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
But the 808 still you can buy, because I was gonna go to pianos and stuff. I would go there at lunch sometimes, just because I'm like, they're just gonna go fuck with some stuff. I know all the stuff, whatever. They had the 808 there, and they had the TR09 sign for like list price. I'm like, oh, you got it. They're like, oh, it's discontinued now. Like, all right, you got the sign up, but cool. And went checking on eBay and Reverb, and it was just like $600, $700 for a new one.
Holy shit.
Like, fuck. That's like close to what a 909 used to cost.
Right.
So you want to get into the convention of knobs?
I mean, yeah, we paid the entry fee. We're gonna get into it.
The entry fee.
So, you remember? I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but remember we showed up and they didn't have my registration info, and then like after having 3 very patient and nice old ladies digging through all these stacks of paperwork, determined that I simply forgot to register.
Yeah.
Don't know how or why. I almost did the same thing this year. I registered today because I realized, I forgot, because the day that you said, hey, hotel's booked, register, get it cheap. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And I was like, but first I need to make sure I can take off that Friday. So I put in the PTO request, and it got approved like that day. but I totally forgot. Like I thought, yeah, I already registered, and I didn't. So I double checked today. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna look at my email and look for the receipt, and sure enough, there's no fucking receipt. I was like, I didn't register, so I did it real quick. So I'm good to go now.
That would have been amazing if you went and did the same thing.
I would have felt like
And those-
such a fucking jackass. Dude.
And those poor women are like, "Oh, it's this guy." Yeah.
It's this moron again trying to get in for free.
All right, Greg.
Telling
first,
us that that they forgot the registration.
We know you're a 10 goo wiggler, but you can't get in for free.
But should be all good now.
we'll see.
So I like that the guest is Chowning, the inventor of FM. And I like that we don't have to go to the banquet at all to see him give a talk about FM synthesis to like advanced techniques, which I think will be like super interesting.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
It will be interesting to see this year because in some ways I think Eurorack has peaked. We talked about this last year. I wonder if it will. Is shit collapsing now? I know it's been much harder to sell stuff. I don't know if that's a good indicator.
Yeah.
There's still just volumes of new stuff coming out, but is it like it used to be? Like I don't know. I'll be kind of curious.
Oversaturation.
Oh, very oversaturated.
Whenever we talked about this in the past too, of like the idea of a lot of the simple stuff. There's 1,000 variations of.
Yeah.
Right.
I still think there's a lot of room for novelty, and I think there are still novel stuff coming out. I just think the sort of entry point, if you want to make a mark, is higher.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a risky statement. I think I don't even know. I was thinking about this before the show. I don't know if Eurorack is a good platform for analog audio synthesis. I think it is an excellent platform for digital audio synthesis and everything around that. And I think that's what it's kind of converging on.
Dude, I kind of came to that own conclusion for myself a few years back. And like when I was building shit, I think you guys probably noticed I sold pretty much everything except for a few filters that were analog.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep everything in there digital because I realized like that was kind of the strong point of modular. Like you can get cheap, analog desktop synths and things like that. They're a dime a dozen at this point. But like when it comes to modular, it's expensive and it offers some really unique shit in the world of digital stuff. So that's kind of where I've been keeping my rig. Between like the Roland stuff and the Korg stuff and the Arturia stuff, like you can get all your analog needs covered, and you don't need to pay the exorbitant prices of Eurorack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at least that's what I've come to notice.
No, I
Oh, yeah.
completely
But
agree.
people are still cranking out stuff like, oh, this is analog core oscillator. It's like, I don't care. Like, I'm not paying $400 for another, like, basic one oscillator module just because it's analog. I don't give a shit.
Right.
But
How many complex analog oscillators can you actually make at the end of the day? Like, there's only so much. I mean, people come up with shit, but
I mean,
That's
my
rare.
list of things that I want to check out at Knobcon, though, is that Mind Phaser.
a lot of the stuff I want to check out is from Industrial Music Electronics. He's got a whole slew of stuff that hopefully will be at Knobcon, all digital.
Yeah.
He's got he's hinting at the granular thing that he's been working on for
saw that.
quite a while. The new what's the name of the filter?
Not Kermit.
Kermit's the
Bionic Lester.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, Bionic Lester. He's got the new version of that. It's a dual digital filter, and the demo so far sound pretty cool. I want to get some like hands-on time with it. The Andor Junior.
Is that the single Andor?
Yeah.
Because he's had a prototype of that for a while, and like you'll see it like whenever he does talks and stuff. I love the double Andor, or Andre, I guess is how he calls it. Like whenever he's talking about it, he calls it Andre.
Does he?
Yeah, that's the technical, but I would still
Really?
call it the Andor.
I call it the Andor too. Yeah.
Okay. I just visualize Final Fight
Yeah.
every time I read it. But
The idea of having it like the single version of that and fixing the bugs and all the problems in that first one. I got rid of my double Andor. I can see getting the single one in a heartbeat.
yeah.
I kind of miss it. I mean, the Zadar replaced it with the crazy digital envelope shapes. I still miss just that grit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I still want to get more hands-on time with the new Hertz Donut, the Mark III, and maybe the Piston Hotnum.
Did you had the piston for a little?
I had the Mark IIs, yeah.
Oh, the Mark II. That's right.
But yeah, it's like almost all digital, at least on my list. That wasn't intentional, really. It's just the stuff that caught my attention.
I will say I think it's a good platform for analog video synthesis because there's no equivalent. You can't get like analog video shit. So I think it's cool that market's been able to expand like through the Eurorack, like just structure.
Yeah, and being able to take advantage of all of the stuff you already have in your rack for audio things, not having to rebuy that or buy something that is duplicating that functionality.
On a similar note to that, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did not see LZX on the list.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, I really want to check out, they just released the Fortress module.
Yeah, I want to see that too.
I want to see that in action.
I was hoping for another panel also, you know, like hearing him talk about stuff. Yeah. Like,
oh, fuck yeah. That was so interesting. That was the best thing.
That was our highlight, last year. But that was like the beginner's course. I was hoping we'd have had like a more advanced panel this year or something. But yeah, I didn't see their name anywhere. So might not be there.
Yeah.
I would say through the beginner's course again because I have a little more context now, whereas I've forgotten a lot of it. But now I'm like, actually, like maybe I'll get a vignette, like kind of want to dip my toes in a little further. Now I understand we were talking about the staircase like a week ago, and now I'm like, no, I painfully know like why I want that now. Yeah.
When I first started getting into it, it kept coming up as like if you already got a Eurorack system, this is the thing you want to get, like this in a Visual Cortex. And I read it, and I'm just like, I don't know why I need this, but then fucking around with it for like a year or so now, like it makes perfect sense to me. It's in every video patch I do. Like it's just like it's super intuitive, and I know we're gonna talk about structure at some point, but that in and of itself is also just
fucking mind blowing.
And then I was also taking the two outputs, putting them into the A and B and the Fluxus Duo.
Oh yeah, that that looked delicious. Yeah, the way it was just kind of like vibrating.
I'm so jealous.
You know, there was a time when you were the only person who had Eurorack video shit.
Yeah.
We all had to come over here.
That's true.
And we sit there, oh, man, that looks awesome. And you're like, oh, it's just the video shit. Like, you weren't even watching it anymore.
And with the Eurorack audio back in the days of the Frequensteiner and all that other shit, which seems like a lifetime ago now.
I wouldn't mind having a Frequensteiner again, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a good filter. Started it all, for me at least.
You
started
like
the addiction.
And a terrarium?
It was the AFG.
Yeah.
AFG.
Yeah, I bought them both at the same time. I had a little Dofer, economic case thing that I got, the bare bones, and I got the Frequensteiner and the AFG together. Like I didn't even have like a VCA or anything yet. I didn't even care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just patching that to the filter, and I was like, this is some god tier sounding stuff.
Yeah, because remember that the first IntelliGel module was actually the expander for the Vulcan modulator.
Yeah,
that was the first shit that IntelliGel ever did before.
I had that shit on pre-order too.
Yeah,
I was very stoked for that one. Crazy to think about how far IntelliGel has come from that, dude.
Yeah.
Those palette cases look pretty dope. They're tiny, but it's a nice little setup.
Still don't have lids though.
They don't. That's a big. Like I read that today. I was like, oh, maybe I'll blah, blah, blah. No, they don't have fucking lids. Fuck that. How do they not think about it? They could sell people another thing,
Yeah.
Like put a lid.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe they're trying to upsell you to the big one that has a lid.
Yeah.
If portability is your thing. It'd be nice to see them at Knobcon.
Yeah.
Big ass rig of IntelliGel stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of modular manufacturers on the list, to be honest. There's a lot of the same, like other people, Yamaha, Elektron, all that shit, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Oh, and real fake knobs. What? Yeah, I know we're all excited for that again, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
How could you forget that? That was the number one thing. Yeah, no,
that's ridiculous.
What a waste of fucking space.
So there seems to be some gimmicky stuff like that on there, like utility stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, but that's not something I need to see at a convention to get a feel for it. You know what I mean? Like, I know what the fuck a fake knob is. Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to see more of the big name modular people on there, but there just doesn't seem to be on. I saw that I might be saying it wrong, but Nio.
I don't know how you say that.
Me either.
I would guess Neo.
But they're on the list again. They were last year, but they no-showed.
Yeah.
Right. And which was a bummer because I wanted to check out the Analog Core 4.
I want to hear that too.
If it's there, I'll be spending some time with it for sure. I hear Behringer is going to be there.
Yeah. After talking about the little TR909, it does beg the question of when they're going to do the Behringer 909.
Yeah, it's supposed to be soon.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
The 808's actually shipping now.
It shipped out on 808 day, on August 8th. It's en route to retailers.
Did either of you pre-order one? Either of you?
I want to play with one at Knobcon before I spend any money on it. But I was a little disappointed because the price was rumored up until this point to be $299.
Yeah, yeah.
Now they're saying $349.
That's not too bad.
It's not too bad,
Yeah.
but it takes over that $300 mark, which was making it stand out more in my mind because that's undercutting all the competition.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't even think you can get like a drum brute impact for under 300, can you?
I don't think so.
No. I mean, my main thing is I just 808 is not something I lust after. Like, to me, like, you start with a 909 and then you put it through distortion. So, like,
I'm under the same boat. Like 909 is my own personal favorite, but I do like the mix and match, you know, sounds here and there. Like whenever I had the TR8 or the TR8S, it was I usually had like a mix there of 909, 808 shit. You know what I mean? But for under $300 with what you're getting,
yeah.
I would pick one up just for the fuck of it. You know, if nothing else. Like it's got some good features. I jotted down 64-step sequencer right off the bat. You got individual output for each drum voice. You got internal effects. You have fucking parameter locking.
I didn't know that.
So how does that work? Is there a screen for it, or like how do you know something is
There's
locked?
a little, like I think it's a 2-line LCD.
Oh, okay.
Under the main shit, right above the step sequencer.
At least I'm assuming it's parameter locking. I saw on there that you can record like the filter or some shit. And it says parameter chaining, which I'm guessing is parameter locking. They probably just can't say parameter locking 'cause, like, you're chaining the movement.
Also filter. They obviously have a filter.
High
over
pass
it.
and low pass. Yeah, variable mode.
That's a lot of shit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to scoff at, you know?
I love my 808, but it's all about processing the individual outs with effects. For sure.
I think that's a great... It helps you integrate if you already have a modular. You know, like... If you have $350 to burn, are you going to buy one fucking drum module that is a 808 emulation with no CV ability, or are you going to buy a whole fucking machine at this point with, you know, all those features?
Cost is been the big reason why I've not gone down the path of making a modular drum machine.
It's not.
Don't go
feasible.
down. Yeah,
It's so fucking
take it from
expensive.
someone who's fucking tried it, dude, multiple times, many different iterations.
Yeah, I would much rather get something, especially with the individual outs, because the little boutique ones did it?
No, they have a single 1/8-inch stereo out,
Yeah.
which is one of the main downsides of those things.
It's turned me, dude. It's, you know what I mean? I mean, last year when we were there, Behringer was there. I didn't even stop to look at the booth.
Right.
You know,
Well,
like,
remember they were late.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean
like
they were jamming on our way out the door. You know what I mean? And I was just like, I stuck my nose up at it. I said, "Fuck Behringer." I didn't care, but here we are a year later, and they've kind of wooed me a little bit. It somehow slipped under our radar, but I was looking at it recently. Maybe you guys noticed it, but we just never talked about it before. But this was news to me. MFB just released the Tanzbar Mark II, which looks almost like a mock of the TR8S.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, like even every drum voice has a slider. It looks fucking great. But the problem is, like, nowhere in the United States really has them yet. Like most MFB shit, it's kind of hard to get. I'm really hoping to see one at Knobcon, but I doubt I will. But yeah, it looks
awesome.
Yeah, and it's a combination of, I think it's 8 analog voices and 8 digital voices.
Yeah, little synth voice too. It looks like.
Yeah, and it's got a bass line in it. I'm like, this is pretty nice. Like, and it's not the cheapest in the world, but
for what you're getting, I remember being like, that's a reasonable price.
Yeah.
All MFB stuff I thought was always reasonably priced.
Yeah.
it is, because it's built like garbage. It's like hot glued PCBs and shit. Like, speaking of drum machines, though.
Oh yeah, what's up?
I'm on the list.
Uh-oh.
Take a guess.
The TSA no fly list?
Oh no, Europe Pulsar.
Yeah.
Oh
shit.
I got my name in the hat. I don't know what position
Doesn't matter,
I'm
man.
in, but I'm in the line. I'm excited for that one. I was interested in it, you know, from the start, but the most recent demos that I've seen sold me, and then I have the pipe now, and I'm like, you know what? I like Vlad.
They do good work.
He does good work. I like the aesthetic. I would gladly accompany my pipe with a Pulsar 23 for sure. It looks good, looks compact. It's only 4-voice, but you can do a lot with it due to all the modulation and all the, shit that you can do with it. And I don't plan it on using it like a groove box. I know it's not going to cover all of my drum duties, but it'll definitely be, I think, a very fun, unique percussive element,
Now, are the 4 voices different on there? I don't know too much about it. Are they like similar versions of the same thing? Or, you know what I mean?
I don't know. That's a good question because like the layout looks like they're all the same. So I don't know if you just have to like, configure it to sound differently, or else if it's broken into, I guess, some sort of theme like bass, snare,
like
hat,
a Vermona
or some
ones,
shit.
like the DRM. Those are like kick, snare, hat, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Vermona looks good, by the way, too. I've been looking into that, the Mark III recently. And I was like, you know what? I didn't know that there was a version that came with trigger inputs. I thought it was all MIDI. I didn't realize that there's 2 different versions.
I didn't know that.
Me either. And I saw the trigger input one. I was like, oh, that would be fun. I was like, shit. And I was listening to demos of it, and people were like controlling it with like the Erica drum sequencer. I was like, I got one of those. That looks fun. But yeah, I don't know. I'm holding out. I don't want to really buy any drum machines until I get the Pulsar, because there's no definitive date and when that's going to be out, but he said soon. So I want to make sure I'm prepared at a moment's notice to jump on it.
So the only thing you're missing then is the Soma synth,
which I've looked at.
Yeah,
it's cool, but I have a modular. You know what I mean? Like I can make creepy droney, stuff with that fine already, and I'm kind of using the pipe for that currently now. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
You still haven't gotten a demo of the pipe yet.
Yeah,
You're not going
to talk about that pipe.
I'll talk about it, but I'll be damned if
you're not gonna.
I let you watch me.
Kenny G this shit.
Yeah, no, not gonna happen. Vlad's a mad scientist, dude. Like, I've read pretty much every interview that I've seen him do recently, and yeah, he has really interesting shit to say. You know what I mean? He seems really passionate about what he's doing. He doesn't care if it's normal or not. You know what I mean? I was reading one interview. He was talking about like how he built a sampler from scratch back in the 80s, and he was all excited about it, only to find out that a sampler already exists. he like had no idea that this was a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he created his own version from scratch because it was something that he was like, it'd be nifty if I could record and program my own fucking sound. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's on another level for sure. But yeah, the pipe, dude.
Dude,
like,
how can you not playing this for us?
Yeah.
Like I get it.
I'll
like,
record some chunks. We
dude,
can insert.
come on. You
It's
know, if the shoe was
embarrassing.
if you knew the shoe was on the other foot, you would definitely be like, dude, you gotta play the pipe.
Oh yeah, I would. But I know you wouldn't do it. You'd be
You know
like-
damn well I would not do it.
You'd be
But that's
"Fuck
but like
you."
okay, can you at least explain what's going on? Because there's a bunch of these knobs, and then there's like a cryptic sort of circle.
It's very cryptic. It's all explained on the side, sort of, in a less cryptic way.
Yeah.
It's like a
Oh,
so. The main knob here is the algorithm knob. There's 12 different algorithms. Okay, and then depending on which algorithm you in, changes the functionality of these 2 contacts up here and each knob. Well, except for this one. This is just volume. But yeah, each of these will do different like effects. But yeah, I mean, it's got all kinds of different algorithms. There's only 2 main ones that I've been really using. It's the distorted delay and the freezer.
Freezer.
Yeah, it's like freeze verb basically.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, and like
there's one with a radioactive sign. How are you not
I
using
forget
that
what
one?
the hell that one means. Yeah, they're all kind of weird. I haven't even really been looking at the graphics. I've just been like playing it by ear, messing with different stuff. But yeah, the 2 main ones are what I've been liking the most, because it's kind of what I had in mind for this, was like to make textures and drones and such.
Does it light up on the front? Like
Yeah.
there's okay.
Yeah, the whole it'll glow white.
So these up here, do you have to touch this bar too?
The bottom bar is just for support.
Oh, so that's not part of like a body contact
No,
combo.
These 2 buttons are contact. The one is like a choke. So you can do like interesting rhythmic stuff like that. And then the other one changes per algorithm. Like on the distorted delay mode, this will activate the distortion like delay.
Ooh, I just noticed. Is this right-handed?
Yes. Or no. Well, yeah, because you hold it with your left and then you adjust the knobs with your right. So yeah.
big minuses from the two of us. Yeah.
Fail. Can you get it
Well-
left-handed?
I don't think so. Maybe you can flip the panels though. Like,
Yeah, we don't exist.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
why would you make it for left-handed people? They're wrong-handed.
you might be able to flip the panel. I don't know. But it's not the most ergonomic thing even for a right-hander. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, I was talking to Nick about that earlier. Like, it's heavy and it's like not
a little heavier than I thought it was gonna be.
It's heavy and it's awkward and it's wide, and people online were complaining that their hands aren't big enough to comfortably hold it for long periods.
Oh.
And I read that before I owned one, and I was like, that's kind of like a lame complaint until I got one. I'm like, well, I don't really have small hands, but it's definitely awkward
Yeah.
for me too. Like, you don't want to be holding it for really more than 20 minutes. It's like, get hand cramps and shit.
Yeah.
And you have to
But-
hold it. It's not like something you could just put on a desk and use.
Well, there's a hole there where you can, I guess, screw it onto a mic stand of some
Oh,
sort.
okay. Yeah.
But that would still be kind of awkward,
Oh, yeah.
you know. So yeah, it's not something I foresee myself like maybe using live or for any extended period of time. If I did do it live, I would probably just use it in short bursts into like a looper. I'm not going to be standing there holding it like a Blade Runner saxophone or something. It comes with, well, it doesn't come with 3, but I got all 3 that is available for it.
Are they different in some way?
Oh.
Yeah.
What's the deal there?
So this one is the default. It's supposed to be pretty versatile, very sensitive to like velocity and frequency. But they also offered a low frequency one, which is supposed to be mainly to pick up like more bass tones and vibration. So like you, and then there's the high pitch one, which I'm not really sure what you'd be doing with that, because I mean, a voice can only get so high, so I don't know what the point of that is to pick up really, because I think the default is going to cover the standard vocal range pretty
Right,
well.
right.
You know what I mean? Whereas I can see you using like the low frequency one if you want to do weird shit, like not exactly put it to your mouth but pick up other vibrations or
a
like
kick drum or something.
yeah, you know, all kinds of weird shit, I guess. But I got them both just because they were available for it.
I wonder if it's like someone who plays a reed instrument. Maybe you can do cool stuff with it.
I don't know. See, I used to play a reed instrument. That's
Oh.
that's why I kind of like this. Like, it was kind of familiar territory to me. Like, I used to play sax for a couple years, and it was just kind of reminiscent of that. But there's no reed, and you're really not doing anything with air. It's pretty much vibration. It's just a contact mic in there. So even though it's got a hole in it and stuff, and it looks like a saxophone, you're not blowing anything into it. It's not really about air control.
Right. So, like, if I picked this up and I blew into it, what would happen?
It would probably just sound like someone breathing into a microphone.
Okay. Because that would be my first impulse. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, everything about its form factor screams blow
Right.
into this thing.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's nothing like that. But I feel like Vlad nailed it here, especially with the microphone. It's just really responsive for that type of shit. Like, I was reading online, people were trying other contact mics with it, and they were saying the results were kind of shitty.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I guess Vlad spent a lot of time picking and choosing the components to put in this default mic.
Also, this was news to me that you played the saxophone.
You didn't know it?
When was this? What year? Like, how old were you?
Ooh, 4th and 5th grade, I think.
Were you in a band?
Yeah.
Very nice. Did you enjoy it?
No.
Oh,
I wanted to play a guitar,
yeah. Understandable.
but I got a saxophone.
Were you good at it?
Fuck no.
Okay.
I hated it. I liked the music, and I wanted to learn an instrument, but you know, guitar wasn't possible, and I'm kind of glad, because I would have sucked at it anyways. Like, later down the line, when I tried to play a little bit of guitar, I realized I just don't have the dexterity in these fucking sausage fingers to do that shit.
I understand
So,
the pain.
yeah. I used to be able to play recorder too,
Ooh.
and read sheet music and sing in the choir and all that shit. Don't remember any of it. Not a fucking nothing.
I used to be able to read sheet music, played violin for years.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's gone. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so hard for me not to imagine you, like, on this, like, rainy midnight street,
Oh, yeah.
like, on the corner, like, just, like,
Singing the blues. Yeah, dude. I ended up getting the Digitone.
I'm pretty interested in those. I don't think I'm going to get one anytime soon, but that thing's really cool. I think.
It was an impulse buy.
Yeah.
You know, I've been keeping an eye on them. I love FM drums, and there's just like, I don't have anything right now aside from like my Platts modules to fill that, you know? And so I've been keeping an eye on them, and I got one at a good deal on Reverb. It was the lowest price that I had seen in like 3 months for it. So I was like,
Nice.
yeah, fuck it. I grabbed it. So far, I'm digging it as a drum machine, but I really need to like put it through its paces, especially now with the new firmware that just came out, like per track scaling and all that. It's kind of exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I need more time with it. Just not enough time.
That's kind of why. So I sold a bunch of Euro stuff, and some of the stuff I liked, but I kind of focused on anything that had much depth or menu diving because I didn't have much time. I would turn on my 7U, which I built up, and there were like 7 OLEDs in the thing that would turn on. And there were some times where I was just like, this is just overwhelming right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to play some drums and play a synthesizer. And as I kind of slimmed it down, it was like, no, you could just focus on what you really need to use. I don't want to start with having to configure something. And that's what I felt it was. It was like, oh, I've got to get these like 4 things into this specific state. Like I love the E352, and I think I'm going to flip that too, just because it's like, I know you can have presets, but I just wish it was a little easier to work with sometimes. I know you flipped yours kind of shortly after Platts.
Yeah,
it's like,
for the same reason.
It's just way easier to get there faster.
Right. I like the fact that there was no menu diving or interfacing, to mess with on Platts. It's just you push a button to get into the mode you want. It just takes a little bit of muscle memory, but no menu diving, and I like that a lot. To get to pretty close to the same territory. I think the audio quality on the 352 is miles above the Platts.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but it serves its purpose for me.
He's got something new he's going to show off at
Oh, yeah?
Knobcon. Yeah, I saw him teasing it.
Huh.
Looked like he was showing off a new Atmega processor on the back of a board of something.
Okay.
Ooh.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
The ER301 had a really cool update recently. He actually kind of went away for a few months and wasn't updating anything, and he was like, just hold on, whatever. And he's got like a log of like what he's going to work on. There's always been this switch on the front of the ER301 called hold that has done nothing for years, and people have been knowing that hold mode would eventually come. So he eventually released hold mode just a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago or something. Anyway, turns out it's really awesome. It's kind of like pinning controls and then having a control that can kind of sweep and morph through things. So now you can take all these parameters within your 301, go into hold mode and pin them, and then create like other change sets and then kind of like morph through those or like flip between them.
It's almost
kind of
like
like parameter lock.
I was gonna say like almost like the opposite of a parameter lock.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so that's been, I haven't even played with it yet because that's one I will likely never get rid of that module, but it's one I haven't played with much because it's like every time you use it, there are different changes, and the core of it's kind of the same now, but it's always, every time I turn it on, I feel like, I need to go to a website and try these 5 new things or something, or just use it really simply and load a sample. But the hold mode seems cool. Like I'm down with some parameter locking and able to fuck shit up on there.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
That sounds awesome.
But on the other hand, I saw the what's the ALM Squid Sample
Yeah.
just came out, and it looks pretty intriguing because it's kind of the opposite of the 301.
Yeah.
It's like all on the panel basically. It's got a little screen, but kind of a different thing.
I wasn't too blown away with the demos I've seen so
Nope.
far.
Yeah, I saw one today before I came over because I wanted to check it out. I was like, yeah. No, that kind of took away because at first I was like, kind of cool.
Yeah,
Nah.
maybe if it had like more onboard effects or something like that. Like it has a dedicated button just to downgrade the sample rate. And I'm
my
like,
beef
that's
too.
yeah. I'm like, is that really necessary? You could have that be something else more important or interesting, or just disregard it altogether. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think everyone at this point has some sort of module in their rig that can already bit crush. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like,
And for 8 samples, it has like 3 volt per octave inputs and then
Yeah.
3 CV inputs for everything.
Right.
It's like, whew, you're gonna have a few that are just static, just playing back a sound, which
Sure.
could be cool
Mhm.
depending on what you want to do. But I was like, the thing's got to have like 8 or 16 inputs or something, maybe to
Exactly.
like really drive it
Right.
Yeah.
to where I'd want to have it or where we would want to take it.
it's like it's some weird in between where it's
Yeah.
like it's not compact enough to be like, this is just my basic sample player, and it's not like versatile enough to be
Yeah.
like, this is my sampling supercomputer. Like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
some weird mix in between where, like you're saying, like you don't have control over everything, you don't have that many options. and that screen is just so tiny.
Very.
Like you can see the waveform on it, I believe, in some of those demos. But I'm like, and the way the layout is too. Like if you notice, the cables kind of have to like overlap the buttons, and you also have to like select which track with a button too. So you have to like cycle through them. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I was like, this is.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know, because I've usually kind of enjoyed his interfaces.
Yeah.
You know, on his other modules, but I feel like he kind of missed the mark on this one personally. Maybe he'll offer like an expansion at some point, which will
That'd be cool.
open it up a little bit. That would be nicer, but
This is a preview of our next episode where you're talking about how great it is.
yeah.
Oh, speaking of updates, I have another thing to talk about related to updates. The GraphicVCO update that I alluded to earlier added drum mode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's real fucking nice. So the it's a new mode you get into, and the FX amount input has now been changed to a trigger or a gate. It's ultimately a single drum voice. If you had a bunch of other modules, you could replicate this mode. But it's nice to have everything at once and not have to have a bunch of envelopes coming in and doing this. And so you have attack decay, but you also have, they call it FM, but it seems like it's just more pitch. But it's not 1 volt per octave. But basically you can also then use this envelope to change pitch over time, and I think it's an exponential curve. But you have all of the waveforms available to you, and you still have the morph control. So you can still send CV to that. You can get like solid, what you would expect out of a kick drum sounds, and does that fine. But also just weird space punching sound. So yeah, I was real impressed with it. And there were other bug fixes and stuff in it. I think there was something else that was added, but it was not as exciting as this new mode.
But yeah, they fixed like the fine tune or something.
Oh,
right?
that was it. Thank you. That is exactly it. So it was just one knob for pitch, and it was relatively coarse. But as you were going through, if you went over a note, it would sort of pop up and say, you're now an F. Go down. And, as you were correlating between them. So this now you can go, okay, I kind of got near this note that I want. You hit it, you hit the left encoder or the right encoder, pops up, and now you can shift how close you want to get to that note that you had. And you hit OK, and now that's the value of it. So it's a way to tune things quickly not on the fly. I mean, you still have to dial that in.
I only have one oscillator right now.
What's up?
Just the organ. That's it.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I still have the 352.
Wait, did you get rid of the monsoon too?
No, kept the monsoon.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I've
That's an effects processor, Dave. They call it a texture synthesizer, but no one uses it as it's intended. No one.
You got a monsoons. Digging it?
I did. Oh, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Because I'd played with clouds before, so this is very exciting to have that, and then also the Parasites firmware and fucking around with all of that different shit. I'm getting good sounds in like weird fucked up noise sounds, but also just like using it a little bit just beefs up something that's otherwise.
Yeah.
It's also a good way to take a basic mono signal and add some stereo depth to it.
Yeah.
Some weird panning effects,
Speaking of which, though, I think I need some kind of like stereo mixer
Yeah.
for my module, and so I was
That's
looking
what
at.
started me down that path, too.
I know I could have a long time ago with the ZDSP, but that was like, oh no, I'm getting good stuff out of just the mono. This, I'm like, oh shit, I think I'm missing.
Right.
Like when I put it into the directly into this the left and right out, I'm like, this sounds fucking great. And then going it back down to mono, I'm like, it still sounds good, but
Right. Yep. I came to the same conclusion. Now most of my rig is stereo. I have a multitude of stereo mixers in there and stereo effects. And I highly recommend the Erica drum stereo mixer.
oh okay, because I was looking
Very
at that
compact, very nice.
and the new Make Noise one.
I
I forget what it's called.
X-Pan?
X-Pan.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
saw that one seemed more like more than just a mixer. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's a
it
lot
does
of
more.
control over panning and things like that.
Yeah,
Crossfading, I think. But yeah, if you're just looking for something basic and cheap and clean, I highly recommend the Erica one. Like I'm enjoying it more than the mix-ups from IntelliGel. I have 3 of those in there currently, and they're noisy as shit. And you only have control over one stereo signal. The other one comes in unattenuated, just full blast.
Oh, that's a
And-
weird choice.
Yeah, it's weird. There's 2 mono inputs, which you have volume attenuation control over with the first two knobs, and then knob 3 controls your first stereo input, and then your second stereo input just is, it is what it is. Like, you have to attenuate it before it goes in, which is stupid because if you're attenuating everything else, you know what I mean, and to a nice quiet level, and then you have this full blast signal coming in, it's just going to drown out everything else unless you pre-attenuate it. So you need like a stereo mixer to go into your stereo mixer.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. It annoys me, and I've been considering just selling my mix-ups and getting another Erica because, and also just the noise. Like, I noticed they're not the cleanest mixers. There's some weird noise that comes through them that I don't get on the Ericas. So, just my 2 cents. Speaking of stereo signal paths, WMD just released the module that I've been looking for years now, a dual stereo crossfader. So that, for example, you can take your ZDSP and your Monsoon and have the same signal processed in different ways by both, and then CV the crossfade between them, things like that.
How was that taken until now?
I don't know. I know that, like, since episode 1, I've been talking about, like, that's the type of module I've been looking for, and I've been looking for one longer than we've been doing this, and finally, someone has made one. I don't know why it took so long.
When you started talking about that, I thought you were going to talk about the Autodyne.
That's mono.
It is mono, but when you first started about like a module you were excited for, I didn't know if
I was going to be until I saw that it was mono. That pissed me off. I was like, what the hell? Because like I have their, what is it, the MSCL or whatever.
Yeah,
stereo
muscle.
compressor. Which is cool, but I was excited about this one too because it seemed like it's kind of like a hands-off approach. It just slams the shit out of it, and I was like, cool. I could use 1 or 2 of those. And then I looked at it and it's mono only. I'm like, why would you do that? It's like you already offer like compact, stereo compressors. I feel like they should continue down that path. But Axis, WMD Axis, spelled AXYS, dual stereo crossfader. You're controlling 4 different stereo signals in a 6 HP module.
That's nuts.
And it has LEDs to show, signal for all of them. That's pretty slick.
Yeah, that's nice.
Like, it kind of exceeds my expectations from what I wanted from a stereo crossfader. You know what I mean? It's compact, it's cheap.
So that's meters for each, the left and right for both channels, and then what are the 2 LEDs between them? Is that just the crossfade?
That's to signify left or right pan.
Oh, that's very nice.
And coming soon.
That's smart.
I'm excited about it. It's weird to be excited about something so basic. But like, there's been so many patches lately where I'm like, I could really benefit from something like this.
Yeah.
And it just didn't exist really. I mean, you could achieve it, using a plethora of other modules, most of which I don't currently own. You know what I mean? But it's something that, like, do I really want to take up so much space to achieve something like that? You know what I mean? Not really. But here we are in a 6 HP package.
Yeah.
Thumbs up to WMD. Also, speaking of stereo, I don't want to say a new ZDSP, but a Gurr on Muff Wiggler recently hinted to a new module. It's a compact reverb module.
Oh.
That
do you think it's just like the spin with Valhalla hard coded on it?
Pretty much. I think that's what it's going to be. He didn't really give a whole lot of info about it, but he said it's going to be released in late summer. It's going to be a companion module set up similar to his current Echoes module, which was like the compact like delay.
Yeah.
It's the only thing is that kind of didn't blow me away about his description is that it's mono in only, stereo out. And I'm like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the appealing parts of the ZDSP is that it was stereo in from the start. You know what I mean? But
well, okay. All right. The way that I used to do things, I routinely just map the left and the right with a stack cable.
Sure, I've done the same.
I think
you do what you got to do. You know,
right? 9 times out of 10, that's how I would patch this up. Maybe they're thinking this is how people use it. Typically, you're just going to take this in. You're just going to mult it over to the right.
Yeah.
Let's just not bother. I'm playing devil's advocate of them going, this is how most people use a ZDSP. Let's just not bother putting in a second jack.
He says these cards will have SD cards on the back to update the code. It's going to have a 70s algorithm and I guess an 80s algorithm and a 90s algorithm.
Oh, that's absolutely Valhalla then.
Yeah.
Because he's got that kind of, he said he'll just work with TipTop.
Yeah, I forget there was another thread where like people were trying to get him to.
ER301.
That was it. Yeah, and like even when he came on and was like, Gerg treated me well. I'm going to only work with them. Still got there was like still pushback. Like,
Yeah. I would love a Valhalla, reverb in there. Because the reverb that's in there, he used Freeverb, and it kind of sucks, It does kind of the trick, but it's terrible. But it's just open source. I would have done the same thing if I was him. Like, I'm not coding that. Here you go.
Yeah.
Use reverb module. Yeah.
Yeah, the Halls is still my favorite reverb, for sure.
yeah,
I've been getting more mileage out of the Monsoon, herb, not herb, sorry, Oliverb.
Oliverb. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. Surprisingly, like I kind of disregarded it for the longest time because I always had Halls and I had Verb and everything else, so it kind of fell to the wayside. But I've been now that I have 3 versions of clouds in there, I've been messing with the reverb more. I recently sold my second ZDSP too because like originally my plan was to do like dual Halls setup, but I did for a little while.
Are you just gonna like strum a guitar once and then like 2 hours later come back?
I liked having the ability to process 2 different things with 2
gotcha.
different
Yeah.
algorithms
Yeah.
going, not necessarily running through each other for like extra Hallness. No,
Sorry, that's what I was impressed.
Yeah.
Was thinking.
no, because like sometimes I'd like to have like a short,
Yeah.
dark verb, you know what I mean, platey type thing going, and then something that's like a bit brighter and longer for other elements in a patch, you know what I mean? But I sold my second ZDSP and now I'm just kind of making do with the Monsoons verb along with my one remaining ZDSP running Halls. And Mariana Trench, that's a pretty good card. that
I haven't
I've been
gotten
getting
that
more
one
mileage out of. Really?
I've been pissing a lot of money on video shit.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know necessarily when I would use that over Halls.
Yeah, it's definitely not a Halls replacement, but it can do some unique stuff. It has a life of its own, kind of like how Halls does. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it just has a very organic feel to it. You can get some interesting, weird, feedbacky, strange tones out of it. In fact, I was running Trench into Halls at one point, and that was pretty cool. But it
So you're running your reverb into reverb.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't. It's weird to consider the Trench card like a reverb because I
Yeah.
wasn't using it as such. It was more like I guess a mangler wouldn't be the proper word either, but it just helps to transform sound into like strange harmonic content, and it utilizes CV really nicely. Like the shit that you can hit on there, and you can just start morphing things into stranger things. I don't know. I like it.
That's cool because actually that would be one thing that I've always said about like ZDSPs. Like I don't end up using a lot of CV.
Right. Neither have I up until this card. I think it kind of begs for it.
Yeah, I got that H9 Eventide H9 pedal module, that like 1 to 10 thing. That's the most cramped module I've ever seen. I almost like laughed when I took it out and like tried to turn one of the knobs. It was like, holy shit, this looked so much better on paper. Yeah, I had that in the rack for like 5 minutes and that shit was on reverb.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even know you got one.
Yeah, I got it. I was like
quick.
kind of drunk maybe when I bought it. And, yeah, got it. I was like, fuck, this is super tiny. And it also had like the screen at the bottom. It was like super bright blue. And I was just like,
Oh, your
man.
favorite.
Yeah. Just like, fuck,
Love
man,
them blue LEDs.
I'm not putting tape on this thing already. And also the idea of having that much CV control was like, I don't think this is necessary for a lot of effects, And plus, I can use the expression pedal input if I really need like a CV controller or something. So
Yeah, I don't know if I have any interest in his smaller reverb. Even if it is running like Halls like algorithms, I don't know, because I can't imagine it would be cheap.
The only thing I would be interested in is having like if it is just Halls, taking that out, making it a dedicated Halls machine, which my ZDSP unfortunately is a lot of the time. Honestly, I can see myself getting that.
Yeah, it all depends on the price for me, I think. I haven't enjoyed a TipTop module in a long time, honestly. I feel like most of the stuff that he's put out, I give a shot, and then I'm just kind of like, yeah. Like the last thing that I was kind of dug was the wave folder, the TipTop fold. Because it had some interesting tricks, you know what I mean? It had like the sub-octave outs and stuff.
Yeah.
That was a cool trick, and it was a really nice module for like feedback patching and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not small, you know, and it's kind of a one-trick pony, and the fucking new interfaces on everything is just so ugly. Like,
It is.
it's just like
Terrible.
it's like I don't want to even look at it, let alone use it. I'm just like, I don't know.
And all of them are bigger than they should be. Even that
Yeah.
oscillator is just like, there's now 2 HP oscillator.
Right.
You got the 3000 is just like this monster. Like everything just seems like it's just like very rudely sitting on a subway, and like putting its elbows out and like
It's man spreading. I mean, that's everyone's complaint about the ZDSP too, is its size. You know what I mean? It's like, it's never really bothered me because I don't know. I feel like the panel is well utilized for what it can do.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like maybe you could shave some HP off of it, but I don't know. For the most part, I think it's a nice size. But I mean, hell, I had room for 2 of them. So.
Speaking of your Digitact, what's up with that? Do you have to ship it?
Yeah, so this is did I talk about my problems with this in the past with
I think briefly. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's at least a 5-minute section in every episode where we complain about
Yeah.
Elektron to some degree. So
one of them was probably me explaining the problems I was having with it just not turning on. And there was some back and forth with the support, and you know they're like it's a capacitor, and if you do certain things, it takes a long time to empty. So you gotta sit there and wait. And they were talking on the order of like minutes, but it was taking like hours for mine to turn back on. And then just out of the blue, it started working fine. I even was like, okay, I guess that was it. It's working fine again. Thanks. 3 months went by. And I use it, most days. Like it's a rare day that I don't turn it on and do something with it. And it worked when we went down to the beach.
Mhm.
Had no problems down there. But a week after that, I come back and gonna turn it on, and it doesn't come back on. So I'm like, okay, shit. So I turn it off, do the normal thing. Hours later, it's still not fucking turning on, and now I'm like, oh shit, I haven't SysEx dumped this in like a month. I don't want to lose that fucking work. At least turn back on so I can back this up.
you said it.
I did. I said
You said the name.
the titular name.
The titular name. Sorry, continue.
So finally, it wasn't until the next fucking day this thing turns on. This is not okay. So I basically hit them back up. This happened again. Didn't turn back on until the next day. I'm like not like I basically don't trust this anymore. I can't use this. I can't show up and go, oh hey, drum machine didn't turn on.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take these drink tickets and go. Like, like I need this shit to turn on.
Remember to
And-
tell your friends. Come back next time. Maybe my shit'll work.
And to their credit, they came back and he's like, yeah, this just sounds like this. Yeah, just send it back. There's something weird going on with their website. Basically, he's like, so we have for your email address, the registration of the serial number for the Digitac, but there's no address. So I log into the website. All I see is an address, no registration for the Digitac. I'm like,
These are the quirky. This is the quirky shit that keeps us talking about Elektron, dude. Like,
but I'm like, you got peanut butter in my chocolate. No, you got chocolate in my peanut butter. So I'm still straightening this out, even though it's the exact same email address. But I mean, at the very least, they are like, yeah, this isn't right. We're gonna fix it.